Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind's digital series, Where Are We Now? I am your host, Jocelyn Hunter, Senior Director of Communications at CLB. Joining me today is Tony Cancelosi, CLB's President and CEO. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Jocelyn. It's my pleasure to be here.
As we're here in this month of April celebrating all things volunteerism, I fondly recognize CLB's outstanding volunteers, from our board of directors to our advisory board members, as well as our volunteer readers and visitors serving our consumers. And I want to start with you about sharing a highlight as we reflect on this month of volunteerism. Tony, do you have a point of memory that you reflect on fondly as we're thinking about volunteerism and the impacts that they have had here at CLB?
Yes, I do. Being ambassadors for the Columbia Lighthouse, and I'm going to be celebrating my 19th year here, that the most important thing for CLB is the volunteers that we've had all these years that I've been here to reach out into the community and show the care that we have for them to give them independence. And that is so important for them to know that we're here through the volunteers. And I can give you one real quick example. Recently, I'm part of a program at Catholic University. And one of the things that I was doing was talking about Columbia Lighthouse. And there was an individual who just came back to Catholic University and said, gee, I'd like to know more about it. And he said, can I volunteer? And I said, absolutely. And I gave him Jocelyn's name. That was a couple months ago. And all I hear from him every day when I do see him is how grateful that he became a volunteer, because the people that he is working with truly show their love for him and their hope for him, that he's giving there and he's there all the time to help them. And that's what it's all about, is that people know that we're here to help them and give them hope. And it's like CLB gives vision for sight. And that's our theme, is that we really do help those in need. Thank you, Jocelyn.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Thank you for sharing that special reflection here this month of April, National Volunteer Appreciation Month. Today, our guests include two of our outstanding volunteers. And again, all of Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind's volunteers are tremendous and outstanding with their time and compassion that they extend to our community and to our organization. We are joined today by Brad and Karen. Welcome. Happy Volunteer Appreciation Month, Brad, Karen.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
Brad, I want to start with you. Thank you so much for your service to CLB and the community we serve. What inspired you to volunteer for Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind?
It was pure serendipity, actually. I got an email from a colleague who got an email from a colleague through word of mouth, kind of in a distant email chain, that they were looking for volunteers to help with some young child's eye screenings at some local public schools here in Maryland. And so I was like, oh yeah, I can do that, because I like helping little kids with their sight. It's kind of fun to do. And so I looked into it, talked to a couple people, and Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind really kind of set up a bunch of stuff for me to go help these kids see better.
Oh, thank you, Brad. Thank you for serving with your very specific skill set, vision care. And that moment of service, did that compel you to share with your networks about your service and how they can also make a difference in our community?
Yeah, I like being able to volunteer, especially with the kids who can't kind of get the care they need for whatever reason. Maybe their parents don't have the time, they're working, they don't have enough money. But it is nice to be able to do that, give back something. And then, we kind of asked one of my colleagues to help out for a couple other weeks. And one other weekend, we were able to get one of my colleagues to go do a similar thing at another elementary school. And so it was very nice. I mean, we helped, it wasn't like hundreds of kids, but a couple dozen kids who got eye exams. It was pretty nice.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that, again, you were so inspired and moved to not only volunteer, but to share your experience with your colleagues, with your team members, to inspire them to join you in this mission, in this effort to outreach and serve the community. To our listeners out there, why should they get connected with Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind, Brad, in your opinion?
I think the biggest reason is helping your fellow person out, honestly. It's just like, it's a really nice thing to do. I think people are very appreciative. And while maybe the younger folk aren't able to eloquently express their gratitude, you can give them a good day. You can help them with their education. You can set them up for like the next 80 years of their life with better vision. And it impacts their day so much. And whether you're like in my section where I was helping kids eye screenings, or you're helping me able to see some people kind of hear stuff that they couldn't see, or helping older folk who are less visually able, like you can really impact their lives and improve their function and their happiness level overall.
Thank you, Brad, for that public service announcement. And again, thank you for serving our community with the specific, well-trained skill set as a doctor that you offer at Gratis. So thank you for your service to Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind.
Oh, you're very welcome, Jocelyn. Thank you for the opportunity. It was fun.
But we look forward to your continued service. Karen, you are so well acquainted with Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind and with our community. Tell us, everyone out there listening, what inspired you to volunteer for Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind?
I had been volunteering as a reader for the blind at the Martin Luther King Library for many years. And then the renovation was about to start. And I said, oh, wow, this is going to stop. So I'm going to have to, continue this path. And I knew that Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind existed, but I had never reached out to volunteer. So I went online and I completed the volunteer form. And then I received an email from you, Jocelyn, with the training dates. And we were actually trained at George Washington University. And that's how I started.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for taking that action after being prompted to reach out. You've been connected with CLB again and our community for a number of years.
Yeah.
To date, is there a moment that you continue to hold special in your heart as you reflect throughout this month, National Volunteer Appreciation Awareness Month?
Yes, there was an annual event called the Women's Federation. It was the Federation of Women. It was the conference of women who would speak about where they've been in their life. And I thought, oh my goodness, no one has any excuses. I don't want to hear anybody's excuses, because some of the women who were born without sight, and some of them ended up losing their sight after being able to see, but it didn't stop them. And I remember my job at the conference was I sat at the table with these women who flew together as groups, or they gathered together and rode the Amtrak together. And I just love their independence. Nothing stopped them. I remember their names: Joan, Victoria Herrera. One lady's name was Lena. Because I kept a book. I kept a book about the things that they talked about. And Lena, a lady named Jonella Ferrara. These are the ladies I sat at the table with, and I would go and get their coffee. I would escort them to the ladies' room and get their lunch, because you all did feed us breakfast and lunch. There was a lady named Sonia Tari. And I just remembered the stories that they talked about their lives. I want to say Victoria, she talked about how she liked to ride her bike. And she talked about the tumor that was behind her eye. That was a very soft ball, was very, very small size. And I remember her talking about the surgery that took 13 hours. And prior to that, she liked playing basketball. I want to say Victoria also went to school for criminal justice. And she did open up a massage school, which is called Majestic Healing Hands. And at that time, she had 60 clients at the time, and she received a $5,000 grant in order for her to have some supplies and a table and sheets to put on her massage tables. I mean, I was just really blown away by their lives, that regardless of their sight, they just continued fighting. Nothing stopped them. And after working with them, I believe that I worked 2 conferences. One of them took place at Shiloh Baptist Church on 9th Street. In the last one, I think this may have been before COVID, or maybe somewhere near COVID, either after or right before. It was on 8th Street near Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember writing out everything that they spoke about, how Carla said that she was born without sight, but she ran track and she did across country, and she hiked and she liked doing calculus, and no challenge was too big, and she liked doing things differently, and it made her stronger. She said seeing people panic when things go wrong. I
Oh,
thought that was, she said seeing people panic when things go wrong. She said, but I don't have the room. I don't have the space to panic. I have to use what I've been given to continue moving forward with my life. I just remembered all of their stories. I wrote them down, have 5 pages here.
oh, wow. Karen, yes, I remember attending those conferences, and it's National Federation of the
Yes,
Blind's conference, the DC chapter would host. For
right.
example, Libra Robinson, a former CLB FAB, Foundations of Adjustment to Blindness consumer
Okay.
and entrepreneur now, she organized the conference. And I do remember your participation.
hmm I walked them up to the podium because a lot of these women who sat at the table with me were speakers.
So you were
And
guiding them. You
I
were
was
their
guiding.
human guide. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And walked them up to the podium so that they could speak, and wait until they finished speaking and then walk them back to the table. But I have all of their names here. Gail Schneider, she loved the music, and one of her biggest challenges was facing fears with performing. And she was so happy about being a part of Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind, because they prepared her for jobs. When it was time for her to go to a new job, she was not confident about how she would do when she started something new. But she could always go to Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind, and they would prep her for her job. Someone named Debbie Barnes. She was in a wheelchair. Evelyn Valdez.
Oh,
I have
yes,
all
Evelyn. Yes.
have yes, I have all of their names here in this booklet about, their life, things that they talked about. So
Oh,
that's what,
Karen. Yes, those are truly special memories.
yeah. So I tell people I don't want to hear any excuses, because these women just keep going and going and going and going. And you think that if you were to get into that position right now in your life after you've been able to see, it's quick for you, because a couple of the women said that, no, I was able to see at one point and then I lost my sight. And she says oftentimes people feel like, oh, well, I used to have my sight and now I can't see, and this what makes it harder. But they said no, because I already know what it was like to be able to see. I just keep that vision. But I just love the fact that nothing stops them. They don't let anything get in their way of their forward movement in life,
Well, thank
especially
you, Karen.
academics. Yes.
Yes, it sounds like our community that we inspire you as you
Yeah.
continue to serve our community.
And speaking of not giving up and moving forward, one of the people who I did assist was the gentleman out in Maryland who was a PhD student. at George Washington University, and he was writing a book. And I typed for him. I mean, that to me was amazing. I mean, I've even started, trying to figure out, I just made me just start learning Braille, because I get so sick of going into the elevator and I know that Braille sign, is on the side, on that, where we are able to see where we can push the numbers, but underneath there are the symbols for Braille. And I'm like, no, I need to learn this.
Wow.
And I believe that they have those classes at the Martin Luther King Library. Yeah.
The Center for Accessibility, MLK Library. They are a strong, reliable resource for CLB and the community we serve. We appreciate the work that they do there. Karen, we've heard today from Brad, another CLB volunteer, from Tony, our president and CEO, examples of how they work to recruit volunteers to serve the organization, the community. For listeners today, and even beyond today, why should they get connected to CLB? Why should they reach out to express their interest and willingness to serve?
Well, I've been volunteering with different organizations since I was 18. But when it comes to serving, I think that it wakes you up. And if you have any excuses in your life, they disappear because they're so independent. They're so independent. You wonder, do they really need my assistance? Because they're going on about their business without any problem. Better than seeing people. And volunteering really does allow you to see that, I have to say, there are no excuses in life. That if I can assist this person just to walk across the street, you realize that you may be taking things for granted. It helps you look at your life and see, what am I taking for granted? This is something normal for them. You can see every day. You can walk across the street. You don't need anyone to assist you. It makes you grateful. Sometimes we need our eyes open in life. I'm on the subway and the bus a lot, and people tend to want to feel sorry for the person with the cane that's blind. And I've said to a couple of them, I said, you know what? They don't want you to feel sorry for them because this is their life and they've taken control of it. Even they feel like, oh, let me rush to help them. I said, well, first of all, you need to ask them that they want assistance first. You don't just go because they can't see you, and they don't need to feel like if someone's bum rushing them. They don't need that shock. So to volunteer is really just allowing giving of yourself, giving of who you are to help someone in the community. I had a blind aunt and uncle. My mother's aunt and uncle were blind. They were married. And I remember being a child saying, how can they maneuver in their home? It all goes back to what I said in the beginning. People make a lot of excuses about why they can't move forward in life. And after working with the blind, there are just no excuses. There are just no excuses anymore. I think that it will open up a person's eyes to go ahead and move forward. They inspire you. They actually do inspire you. They make you take a second look at yourself and see, what is it that I need to be doing that I can do, but I'm just not, because I'm not putting my best foot forward. They put their best foot forward every single day. They're not complaining when they could, especially if you've had your sight before and then you've lost it because you have a memory. But yes, if you have the opportunity to volunteer, it makes you look at yourself. It helps you grow as a person. It doesn't keep you stuck. If you've been stuck, you won't be stuck anymore. I promise you.
Karen, thank you for your service. Thank you for recognizing the value of our community and the independence of our community. And thank you for sharing those examples of your volunteerism with CLB. And thanks for utilizing the skills that you've learned at CLB's volunteer orientation as you navigate the community here in the Washington, D.C. region. You shared your experience communicating with fellow passengers riding the metro. So important. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to volunteer.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Everyone out there listening, we need your help. Join us in serving the community of people who are blind or visually impaired here in the Washington, D.C. region. Specifically, we are actively recruiting one-on-one volunteers to serve throughout the Washington, D.C. region, including the District of Columbia, Prince George's, and Montgomery counties in the state of Maryland, to serve by helping with grocery shopping errands or visiting to read mail and other documentation. Please visit our website, clb.org, to learn more about Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind and how you can get involved today. Again, that's clb.org. Thank you to Karen, to Brad, to Tony for sharing your stories about how volunteers make a difference for Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind. Thank you to our outstanding volunteers at Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind, from our board of directors, our advisory board members, to our one-on-one volunteers and other volunteers presently, and those who have served with us for many years. Thank you for listening in to the latest episode of Where Are We Now? Take care.